Hello, my name is Carlos Lanieks, class of 2000 and president of the Brown Alumni Association. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the Volunteer Immersion Program and to this event, Reunions, a year of community building and engagement. This event will discuss the importance of building class community spirit through engagement and fundraising in the lead up to your reunion. On behalf of the BAA, we're grateful for everything you do to give back to Brown, and I hope you enjoy this event.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're happy to have you joining us today. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to begin what will be a most exciting reunion year. My name is Amy Hoy, and I'm the Associate Director of Class Programs in the Office of Alumni Relations. I'm a 20-year veteran, and I'm humbled and honored to have been able to celebrate so many wonderful celebrations and reunions with you here at Brown. Not sure how many are personally excited to be coming back to Brown next May, but I can tell you this just might be the most memorable year ever on College Hill. We anticipate the energy and participation to be simply amazing. Our goal for today's program is to showcase just how you can make the most of this very exciting year. Together, you all as volunteers will learn about the tools and resources to make this a fantastic reunion. We will spotlight not only your weekend's events, but also the importance and impact giving will make on your alma mater. In years past, we focused on some regional and generational events. Today, we can add virtual and social media to the mix. We've got a terrific program for you, so let's get started. But a few housekeeping things first. Please submit any questions using the chat feature and direct them to the participant labeled A-Q&A. At the end of the program, we will answer as many questions as we can. Also, this webinar is being recorded. If you do not want to be on the video, please turn off your camera at this time. Thank you. Please allow me to introduce you to our Director of Alumni Engagement, Mary Ward. Mary is a terrific advocate for volunteers and an amazing team leader. I'd like to welcome her to get us started.
Hello, everyone. As Amy mentioned, I am the Director of Alumni Engagement Programs, and I oversee class programs, regional club programs, and multicultural programs teams here at Brown. I want to welcome you all to this training. Every year we host this training for the reunion activities committees and the reunion gift committees together because your work planning the reunion weekend, engaging your classmates, and fostering philanthropic support for the university goes hand in hand and really defines the Brown reunion experience for your classmates. I'd like to take a moment and talk about the title of this training. In our past reunion trainings, we focused a lot on unpacking the process of implementing a reunion, highlighting the impact of philanthropic support, and the reunion attendance and fundraising goals and numbers. These are all really important things, but we didn't spend a lot of time explicitly talking about the purpose behind reunions. I was giving some thought to this topic, and I looked up the definition of the word reunion. In numerous dictionaries, reunion is defined as a social event for a group of people who have not seen each other for a long time. These definitions really do not get at the heart of the purpose of reunions at Brown. The purpose of reunions is to really reunite your class community with one another and with the Brown community. And that process of reuniting is about community building and engagement. As you are all aware, since your last reunion, the world has changed significantly. There is a saying, necessity is a mother of invention. The pandemic situation and the necessity of transitioning to a world of virtual engagement really provided an opportunity for our staff to take a step back and to think about the reunion engagement process from a different perspective. In the past, most reunion activity committees were primarily focused on planning the reunion weekend experience for their classmates. Now, some classes, like the class of 1995, who we'll hear a little bit more from today, 1984, 1986, and a few others, had a more expansive approach to the reunion planning process that went beyond determining the reunion weekend experience. These classes implemented events, activities, and communications throughout the year leading up to their reunion weekend. And their efforts really tapped into the spirit of their student experience here at Brown, as well as previous reunion experiences to really foster a sense of connection and community. And these efforts typically paid off when it came to the reunion weekend. Classes that implemented pre-reunion engagement activities often set reunion attendance records as well as fundraising records. Drawing inspiration from reunion engagement best practices implemented by various classes over time, the class program staff developed a pre-reunion engagement guide last year. This guide is designed to help all reunion classes implement a year-long engagement strategy. We learned a lot with this process from last year, and the good news is that virtual events are an effective engagement tool for our class communities. Virtual events actually provided an opportunity for reunion committees to really engage a broader cross-section of classmates, many of whom did not typically come back to Brown for their reunions. The reunion weekend event planning process is still a very important component of the overall reunion planning process. Our events team has worked on streamlining the elements of the reunion weekend planning process to really allow our reunion activities committees more time to focus on pre-reunion engagement. I want to thank you all for your service to your classmates. I know that all of you have a lot going on in your lives, and we really appreciate the fact that you're willing to give your precious resource of time to keep your classmates engaged with one another and connected to Brown. Now I'd like to turn things back over to Amy Hoy, who is really going to provide details about the 2022 reunions weekend and overall the engagement process.
Thank you, Mary. I'd like to get us started with an overview of what your 2022 reunion will look like, and then dive into how you can make this year of engagement meaningful to your class. So, what will your reunion look like this spring? Well, we are bringing back all your favorite memorable reunion events starting on Friday. After you check in at registration, classes will participate in kickoff events where classmates will be reunited at planned cocktail receptions or dinners. Some class leaders have already begun these event planning, while other teams are just getting started and will be putting together their plans soon. After you get to catch up and reminisce with classmates, reunion weekend would not be the same without the ever popular Friday night campus dance. We are thrilled to let you know it's back, and we project better than ever. Saturday, the reunion event tradition continues, and there will be a full day of events, as you can see. One very special new addition is that we are welcoming the class of 2020 back to Brown so that they can formally and finally celebrate their graduation. Yes, they will have a baccalaureate ceremony and march through the gates. Their Saturday events and many of the reunion class details, like the lunches and dinners, are still in the works, but this will be a great day in just so many ways. On Sunday, make sure to wake up early, grab your breakfast and some coffee, and be prepared to march. We anticipate a great crowd, so wear comfortable shoes, put out all your favorite Brown swag that you finally get to wear back at Brown, and get ready to cheer for hours up and down College Hill. This just might be the most memorable time of the weekend. To plan for the year ahead, we anticipate that 2022 will look much like our last on-campus reunion in 2019. Here you will see the numbers that we are using to plan for next May. With your help, keeping classmates excited and engaged throughout the year, we hope to see similar numbers returning for 2022, or maybe even more attendees. This year, we are asking reunion activities committee volunteers to use these 4 pillars of class engagement that are part of our pre-reunion engagement guide to help us make this reunion a success. The 4 pillars listed here are the ways that you as class volunteers can kick off the reunion year and keep everyone excited right through May. To everyone on this call, your support of all events your class leaders plan is so important to the success of this year. Please make every effort to support your class leaders who are organizing events, sharing emails, posting on social media, and of course, talk up your reunion to your own classmates. Let's start with the number 1, which is communications and the save the date. A shout out to the class of 1967. Their 55th reunion class already did this wonderful email you see on the screen now. It's a great example of how to kick off the year, energize the class, and also in this email, ask for updates, share social media platforms, include photos, and we just love what you did here, 67. Bravo emails in general are a terrific way to reach all classmates and keep the lines of communication open. Regular updates confirm commitment of your reunion plans, continue updates on classmates and news on Brown, as well as events both for the class and for the university. Other emails with engagement opportunities include polling, asking classmates for photos for collages. You can do contests that relate directly to your class and will additionally increase participation. Keep your emails fun and interesting. That will make classmates wanting to hear more. I encourage you to check out some of the terrific examples of class websites on the Alumni and Friends site under Classes tab, where all websites are listed. Most of you have class webmasters or communication volunteers. These are the folks we need to start updating these sites and promoting updating events to showcase what your reunion year will look like. Virtual events could possibly be the best thing that came out of COVID. Opportunities to engage just got easier, so we encourage you as class leaders to take the time to plan upcoming holiday and New Year events. Plan a date now. Send a save the date to your classmates soon. This is truly a way for all classmates to participate in events. Virtual happy hours are an easy way to see old friends across the globe, to participate in pre-reunion events, and as you begin your actual in-person greetings come May. Throughout the year, we also encourage you to add other theme nights, maybe a trivia contest or discussions in class forums. Providing a variety of options is the best way to reach many different interests of classmates. All these ideas can be found on our pre-reunion engagement guide or through our award-winning virtual engagement toolkit available on the Alumni and Friends website under Volunteer Tools and Resources tab. Again, plan your holiday and New Year's parties now, though, so you can kick off the year with a really fun class activity. Another way to build excitement before the weekend and keep classmates involved is to host your own class day. I invite you to be creative. Maybe if you're the class of 77, I know some of you are here, you have a virtual in-person happy hour 77 days before reunion weekend, which, by the way, just happens to be Friday, March 11th. How cool is that? Or the classes of 2000s, maybe you come up with something on the 20th day of the month or in March, which is right around spring weekend. Or list the top 20 songs when you are on campus. Or you could also challenge classmates to give on the 20th day of a month in honor of your class year or maybe your age. We know through last year, this was a great success, so we need you as volunteers to think how you too can make your class day an impact on your class events and your class year of engagement. It will be important to use all means of social media, emails, text, and old-fashioned phone calls to spread the word and get participation. Facebook for many has been a fun and engaging way to reach classmates as well. And we really encourage you to have members of your class leadership take on the task to make class day a fun and memorable event. Also important is that class leaders find a way to make this day a success. So please work together to make it happen. In a minute, I'll introduce you to Ruth Neighbors from the class of 95. They did a great job with this and have other 25 reunion success stories that she will share. Lastly, our class programs team is going to help you with a marketing campaign as we get closer to your 30 days out from your reunion weekend. This will include Bravo emails, and here are some examples from the past. 30 days out, you can plan to share news of who's coming back to your reunion, update classmates on what to expect at your class events, share music from your era. You can create photo albums, slideshows, and host them all on your class website. Share them through email or social media channels as well as the countdown begins for reunion weekend. Hopefully this will excite more classmates to return. While the class of 95 may not have had their 25th reunion on campus, they sure did have a great plan for on-campus activities, and their work as a committee was fantastic. It was a team effort by class leaders, and I'm especially grateful for the work from their former social chair and current class vice president, Ruth Neighbors, who truly did a great things for this class. I am so proud of what they accomplished, especially as they had to pivot to a virtual weekend as a pandemic, from the results of a pandemic, and exceeded all expectations. I appreciate Ruth being here today to share how they made it happen. Thanks, Ruth, for taking the time to be here and telling reunion volunteers how 95 made the most of your 25th reunion.
Thank you for having me. It's lovely to see you all, and I'm especially excited to tell you some of the stories of how we made our engagement a success and how we had to pivot from in-person to virtual. So in the next slide, you'll see that there were a number of activities we came up with, and we did this rather organically, but was really wonderful is we had so many different ways of brainstorming how we wanted to engage in our class. And really, it did start off with an in-person class event of the 90s that happened in multiple cities worldwide that our former VP, Alexandra Mendez, came up with. And that was a huge success and helped build a really warm feeling. And it got us thinking about how with reunion planning, we really expanded our scope of how we wanted to interact with classmates. And that's how I got involved when I raised my hand to volunteer for social media management. So we laid the foundation for online engagement in a number of different ways. Some of the examples are here, and in the next few slides, I'll tell you a little bit more about it. But at a glance, we had fun activities like things around Valentine's Day. We did the Class in 95 Day, 95 Days Till Reunion, which really was a nice coordination with the fundraising arm of our class. And I'll talk a little bit and show you some examples from social media and some of the ways that we pivoted from planning for on campus to virtual. But if I had to summarize, really, we had a lot of energy going around it. We had a lot of planning on communications and marketing, and we were able to brainstorm and really come up with something innovative. So some of the things that we did were laying the foundation for online engagement by we revamped our class website, and I started posting pretty regularly. One of the things that we targeted, which you'll see on the next slide, was really thinking about how we wanted to do this build up to the 95 days before reunion. One thing I want to mention is the class websites that Brown has set up for us on the Google website. Really easy to use. You barely need any kind of training. If you're using a site that's still on the old system, ask them to update it for you. So we were able to, in this plan, we came up with a checklist of a number of things that we wanted to highlight. So to kind of build to this day where we were going to talk about 1995 Day, we updated our Facebook group. I created an Instagram account. We started coming up with this checklist, and one of our classmates even came up with a t-shirt design. And then we said, let's go and use this in an email blast to drive people to have a checklist of different things that you could do. Lots of different ways to kind of participate, including, of course, donations, but we made the emphasis on participation, not just the amount, which is why we said donate $19.95 or $95 or whatever you care to do, and gave other ways to make people feel included. So really the key was let's meet people where they are online, virtually, in the build up to the reunion. So on the next slide, one of the things that was the key to our success in brainstorming all of this, it was really important that we had a content calendar to kind of plan these ideas. So every few weeks, or at least each month, we were going to do something. And we split up the responsibilities for where we would post. We would try to drive traffic to our website, but we knew some people weren't ever going to go there. So why not do stuff over on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn? And we left a lot of leeway for creativity because, frankly, this is supposed to be fun. And a couple of the different fun things that we did, if you go to the next slide, were we came up with some different stories for engagement. So it wasn't necessarily just about reunion, but about creating a sense of connection. So one of the things we said is we knew that there were quite a number of people who met their spouses or partners at Brown. So we sent out a call for tell us your love story. And we did a Valentine's Day couple in recognition and did photos from when they were at Brown and photos of where they are now. So we did little engagements like that. I found an electronic copy of our yearbook. So we just did lots of different kind of stories and just made it very playful. But we also mixed in some serious messages and things around fundraising as well. So that was one example over on the Instagram. And then over on the next page, on the next slide, one of the things, because we were so active in a number of different ways, we were able to actually take advantage of things that just happened serendipitously. In this example here, one of our classmates, Sarah Tracy, said, hey, can we get some tunes going? Give me a list. And people started posting their favorite songs from when we were in school. And I seized on that and said, can someone create a playlist? Someone else created one in Spotify, and that led to when we eventually decided that we were going to need to do a virtual reunion because of the pandemic. We ended up having a virtual dance party, and a lot of the songs people suggested, our DJ was actually able to go and put into place. And in addition, people always love photos. So when you're kind of thinking about how you want to engage your classmates, a great way to reminisce is to ask people to post photos, put up polls, various things, all sorts of questions, and then turn it into something. In this case, I created a video slideshow. Again, with the Google Slides or the YouTube channel or whatever tool you have to make a slideshow, it's fairly easy to do. If we go to the next example over in here, one of the things that's kind of important, I'll stress, is that you can't over communicate. There's a lot of different ways to recap things. You're not going to reach everybody on every single medium, but adjust it accordingly, and then reinforce what you've done and post recaps. You can use your Bravo Blast. You can use the class website. It's just a nice thing, particularly for those who didn't make it to one particular happy hour event. They could at least still read and see what was happening and comment on it. And all of this is really just to help build a feeling of connection and keeping the class momentum going and the energy, so that even when it's not a reunion year, you can still do these kind of things. But during a reunion year, it's especially important that you have many different kinds of touch points to kind of engage and organize. And I'll just kind of close with saying that because we were so active and involved during this particular year, and everybody was at home and on the next slide here, we were actually able to easily pivot and put together a fundraiser in support of the Inman Page Black Alumni Council Brown Annual Fund Scholarship. Many of us were feeling the call to do something in light of what was going on with Black Lives Matter. And after we had had our virtual reunion in May, one of our classmates, Herman Brune, said he wanted to do a matching gift challenge. And we were able to make that happen in about 2 weeks, where a lot of people donated. And as a result, this money goes into a scholarship for an existing Brown student. And I do believe that we probably wouldn't have had this level of response if we hadn't already been in regular communication and just building a sense of community, even though we were all far apart from each other. So with all these wonderful things, I wish you all the best of luck, and just want to say that if anybody has any questions about some of the mechanisms of how I did some of these things, happy to answer questions later or even take emails. So back to you, Amy.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much, Ruth, for your time and for sharing this information. I'm sure volunteers will take you up on getting in touch with you to see how you take advantage of some of the great resources that are out there. Again, we will share Ruth's email in a follow-up, so you can plan on seeing that if you'd like to reach her, you'll be getting that information. I'd like to now introduce you and welcome my colleague, Holly Dom, who will provide us a look into the reunion gift effort this year and introduce another very special volunteer.
Thanks, Amy, and thanks, Ruth. It was a very nice presentation and showed how in reunion engagement really inspires others to get involved and to give. I've had the opportunity, I'm senior annual giving officer here at Brown for the last 4 years, and I've had the opportunity to work with the 40th reunion classes who have experienced a lot of success, not only in raising a nice class gift, but also with having record turnouts for their reunions. So I've had such a nice pleasure. But Today, I really would like to introduce you to Latika Ravi of the class of '01. Latika is currently a vice president at T. Rowe Price with a sector coverage in financials, retail, and consumer. Prior to joining the firm in July 2021, Latika was a portfolio manager and senior research analyst at Franklin Templeton Investments for 14 years. Prior to this, she worked in the derivatives structuring group at JP Morgan and in the healthcare high yield group at Deutsche Asset Management. Latika holds an MBA from Wharton in Finance and a BA from Brown University in Economics and International Relations. In 2021, Latika celebrated her 20th reunion and served on the Reunion Gift Committee. She was recently appointed to the Brown Annual Fund Leadership Committee by President Paxson. She is also a member of a board endowment committee and alumni of Color Leadership Committee at Winchester Thurston, a private K-12 school in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where she resides with her 2 children. We will, we're going to open up this as a conversation with Latika, and I hope that you will enjoy our conversation with regard to her experiences as a 20th Reunion Gift Committee member. Spotlight Latika. Hi, Latika, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
Good, thank you, Holly. Thanks for giving me a little bit of time to meet this new class of volunteers.
Oh, you're welcome. So you and I spoke when we were prepping for this conversation, and you were telling me a little bit about your experience on your 20th reunion and how you got involved. Would you mind sharing that with the group today?
Sure, absolutely. So, I graduated in 2001, and I'd say the next 20 years was busy, spending time just building a career, having 2 kids, having a family. My involvement with Brown was pretty much just an annual donation, not huge sums, but I wanted to stay somewhat involved with the university. And then, I would say it really wasn't until the pandemic that I shifted my focus towards communities and strengthening my own relationships with communities. I had somebody reach out to me from Brown University, and I scheduled a casual conversation with them just to say, hey, I want to spend some of my time and efforts towards supporting Brown. What are ways that I can get involved? And Ellen Schatz, who's a senior leadership giving officer, had a great conversation with her, and she had so many ideas. One of them was the reunion committee for my class. And so our 20th reunion was May 2001. So I kind of didn't know what to expect or what that would look like, but I took a leap of faith and joined. And it really was one of the best experiences I had during the pandemic.
Great. So once you got involved in your reunion gift committee, tell me a little bit about the committee itself and the work that you did.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we were chaired by a fellow classmate, Felix Lowe, who is really involved in Brown. He's spent a number of years volunteering. So for me, it was really interesting to just hear his feedback from conversations he was having that were much more intimately involved with the administration. So, for example, he would talk about how Brown was in real time making decisions about and for the students during the pandemic. One of our classmates, Rashid Zia, is now dean of the college, and our committee leader was in constant conversation with them. So the committee really became a conduit of information for the committee members to really understand the university better. And we have sort of a dated view of what the university was. The committee, to me, ended up being something that really was evidence that Brown still has the same values and beliefs that it had. And, the things that made it very special to me and my time there hold true today, and they're doing amazing things. So that was really just kind of uplifting and wonderful to reconnect with Brown in that way. The other thing I'd say is that there were a group of us. I knew some of the members, I didn't know all of the members, but we all shared a really strong love for Brown. And over the 9 months where we were prepping for the reunion, we'd have, periodic meetings. And over the course of those 9 months, we really got to know each other. I mean, we were all on Zoom, so we got kind of sneak peeks into everybody's lives. And, it became another community that I wasn't expecting to be part of my life, but really got to get some really strong bonds with the committee members.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And that's what we hope. We hope that you remain friends. Do you keep in contact with those committee members now?
Yes, I am serving on another committee with some of them. And then, I've reconnected with some classmates that I had lost touch with. So it's really nice just to be back, in periodic conversation with them.
That's great. Now, I know that we talked a little bit about the volunteer portal, which is a tool for the Brown Annual Fund that we implemented a couple of years back. How was that instrumental in your outreach and engagement with your classmates?
Sure, absolutely. The volunteer portal was actually one of the best tools that we have at our disposal. So kudos to you and the team for building a really wonderful, easy to use product. I will say coming into this role, I didn't necessarily come into it with great sales savvy or fundraising savvy. I was actually a bit hesitant about would this be sort of cold calling situation? I wanted to be sensitive to people in different circumstances during the pandemic, and, reaching out to them for fundraising. Felt that I wanted to be very thoughtful and creative about the way that I would go about that, knowing that it is really important to Brown. So, it happened quite organically. Day one, going through the volunteer portal, going through names, and, just requesting an assignment of people that I remembered had some connection to, we shared a memory from Brown. So whether we took a class together, I danced in mezcla, so I had some, friends from that, just people that, meant something important to me. And then the way I viewed my role within this committee was, rather than it being sort of a cold calling effort, it was really to create community. So I kind of viewed my assignments as my little pod, and I really wanted to be in service of those classmates. And the way I felt I could do that was to be a conduit of information from Brown University, and then also to help folks who were interested in growing that connection to become, more connected and figure out ways that they could kind of give back. So I would use the email function within the portal to send emails to I call them my family, but my pod. And, everything from, if there was an interesting lecture that was open up to alumni that I thought would be interesting, I would send that to them. There was this great student-led initiative. They called themselves Students for Educational Equity. And they were really operating on the premise that some of the structural components of the admission system perhaps were biased in favor of those with some privileges. And so it was really looking to equitize the admissions process. I thought it was fantastic that current students were taking on such a large issue. And I know some of my classmates felt the same way. So, sent out a blast. One of those emails was circulating in our class. So sent it out to, my pod. Hey, if you want to get involved, if you want to donate, this is how. And I think people just appreciated having kind of a look into what was happening on the ground at Brown. Now, some of us can get kind of disconnected, as the years go by. The other thing I would do is really highlight our fellow classmates. We've had folks do really incredible things, as I'm sure all of you in all the various classes have. One of our classmates, Jordan Carlos, is a correspondent on The Daily Show, and he emceed an event for Brown alumni. So made sure to put that in front of folks. And going back to your question, the volunteer portal was really the centralized system I used to do all communications. Now there are also giving days and different events that are really wonderful events for people to get involved. And the portal has, for all of us on this call that are super busy and juggling lots of different things, they have templates of emails. You just copy, paste, and blast them out to, whoever your assignments are. So it could literally take 5 minutes a week or whatever time you have. So I just thought it was really well built. And, I'd say the result was a lot more direct communication with the volunteers. We had really great response in terms of folks that gave back. And to me, it didn't matter if it was going to be, $50 or something very large. It really didn't matter. The point was to re-engage with folks and bring them back into the community. And I thought the volunteer portal was a very effective way of doing so.
Right. And it is a year of community building and engagement. So you really perfectly summed it up with the volunteer portal and how you used it, and greatly appreciate it. And you mentioned something about, and we'll just briefly cover it real quick, is that you're still involved, right, with a committee here on campus and reaching out to classmates.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So I think once you get your foot in the door and start helping out, the world opens up, and there's so many exciting ways to get involved. So this year I'll be part of the Brown Annual Fund Leadership Committee. I'm super excited to serve on that. And there are a couple others from the reunion committee that'll be joining me. So continuing sort of our relationships via that. You know, I used to do alumni interviews, and, you know, I still you give back to the university every year, and some years it's been less than others, and some years it's been more, but it's just important to me to consistently remain involved.
Fantastic, fantastic. And any last words of advice for all of our folks that are on today?
Yeah, I think, you know, in honor of our Brown experience, I think customize this for your interests, your needs. You know your classmates the best. You know, make use of the tool to really give an experience that, you know, your classmates will remember and will be meaningful for them. And I think that's one of the most important parts of, you know, volunteering for Brown. And thanks for this opportunity also to speak to everyone. I'm really excited that there are so many folks interested in working for our university.
Great. Thank you so much, Latika, for taking the time out of your busy day for chatting with us.
Thanks, Holly.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about the numbers for the Brown Annual Fund and the community and the impact of volunteer support. As you heard, you may have heard 2021 was a record-breaking year for the annual fund. We raised over $47 million. And during these years, as you see on the screen, these were challenging years, and reunion class leaders and gift volunteers really came together to make sense of how to do everything virtually. And we're responsible for generating excitement around the reunion class gift despite not having reunions, and for raising $9 million, over $9 million in 2020, and over $10 million in 2021. Alumni are 4 times more likely to give if contacted by a peer. And as you can see, last year alone, reunion volunteers, which we had 230 reunion volunteers, raised over $2.4 million from their assignments, which was an incredible amount. And reunion giving makes up an average 25% of the annual fund gifts. When we get into the reunion class gift and participation goals, we're looking at, as I mentioned, last year, the Brown Annual Fund raised 47 million. This year, the goal is set for 48 million with 25% undergraduate alumni participation. Each reunion class sets an ambitious goal and participation goals. Many classmates choose to boost their giving, especially during their reunion year. And that's where we can see where reunion classes make up 25% of this $48 million goal. And we have set that goal at $11 million for reunion classes this year. And volunteers are what makes this happen. Volunteers like Latika, volunteers like Ruth, and all of you that are on this call. More hands make light work. And the goal this year is to have 260 reunion gift committee volunteers, and then we can have crossovers. It's great to have both class leaders and committee members on the reunion gift committee participate, so you know what is taking place from each committee. We have 15 reunion classes, and right now we have 212 volunteers signed up to date, so we have a few more to go. And this is a rolling invitation, so if somebody wants to participate as a sprint volunteer, like around giving days, we'd love to have them. This one. Thank you. One thing that is different about, well, let me back up. The Brown Annual Fund has an ambitious goal of 48 million, as I've said, but it's changed since your last reunion. Reunions are more than a way to just connect with old classmates. They're an opportunity to commemorate your Brown experience by paying it forward. The reunion class gift effort supports the Brown Annual Fund, which is a flexible source of funding that allows the university to remain nimble and respond to its most pressing needs. In 2020, Brown listened to alumni, and the Brown Annual Fund now includes more areas for donors to direct their funds to meet their philanthropic needs. As you can see on the slide, we've expanded beyond the Brown Fund, which supports the greatest need, our financial aid. We've included Brown Athletics Annual Fund, Athletic Directors Excellence Fund, and Varsity Sports Annual Funds. And if you haven't heard already, today is Bruno Gives Back Day, so we encourage you to support the Brown student athletes today by making a contribution on their big day. And there's lots of contests to earn challenge dollars. The professional school funds are also now included under the Brown Annual Fund umbrella. You'll see the Medical Annual Fund, the School of Public Health Annual Fund, and the School of Engineering Annual Fund. And lastly, we added impact funds. We have the IPC BAF Scholarship Fund, which Ruth had talked to you about a little bit, and then the Brown Connect Fund, which supports internships, Campus Sustainability Fund, and the Pathways to Diversity Inclusion. So how are we going to raise $11 million in increased engagement? Well, it's really about our committees working together, talking about in generating excitement throughout the year. I think, Ruth, you had such a great talk about the communication tools that we have available to us and how to re-engage classmates. It's important to be aware of what other committees are doing and know that all goals are shared goals. Your attendance to reunion, participation in the class gift, and the giving, of course. And not only in reunion, but during activities during the year, attend events, committee calls, and participate in giving days. And you also want to work closely with your staff liaisons. We're your resources, and we're willing to help you with anything and be flexible with your engagement. Some tools and resources. Latika really shared a lot about the Brown Volunteer Portal, and I just put up a slide here just to show you, give you a snapshot. It's a little light, but it's a great way. Our volunteers are busy, and we wanted to simplify the process, so we introduced the volunteer portal about 3.5 years ago. It's secure, it's easy to use, intuitive, and available 24/7, and it's a web-based tool. You can use it to review basic information about a group of classmates, search by name, affinity group, or interest, and you can choose who you wish to solicit. You can message your Brown Annual Fund staff liaison through the portal, access resources such as pre-written email templates, other variety of tools. We may put more information about giving days, like today's giving day for Bruno Gives Back is on there. You may also customize and create your own templates for your classmates. You'll find contact information for your classmates, and you can also email, text, and phone right through the portal. You will receive notifications too that a gift has been received, which is quite gratifying, if you will. And you can keep track of your outreach and your notes right there in the portal. The other great tool that's been mentioned a few times is Brown's Alumni and Friends website. In addition to the portal, Brown launched a new Alumni and Friends website not too long ago, and it was formerly the Brunonia website. You can view and edit your profile if you haven't already done this, but I'll just review a few things. You can view your transcript and even your giving history. You can also find out about your class events, regional clubs, affinity groups, and upcoming events, as well as volunteer opportunities and tools to such as the volunteer portal or the engagement tool that Amy had mentioned. Other tools to use, as Ruth had said, was social media, Bravo Blast, and your website. And of course, your staff liaison. We can't emphasize that enough. Latika talked about participation and getting people involved. And in addition to setting ambitious dollar goals for reunion year gifts, alumni classes strive to achieve particularly strong participation from their classmates during reunion years. External institutions use alumni participation as a measure of confidence that the university's most invested individuals are its alumni. Last year, more than 87% of all gifts of the Brown Annual Fund were less than $1,500 and made an impact of $4.8 million, a collective impact. This is equivalent of meeting the financial aid need for over 100 students, and every single gift matters, especially yours, and no matter the size. So quickly, a successful year in review means building community. It builds excitement and engagement. We want to grow volunteer participation, so more hands make light work. And we want to drive your classmates to events and other, not only reunion events, but events that are taking place around Brown. We want to increase participation during the reunion cycle, and of course, have your class have a great reunion class gift result. Upcoming events and key dates. Well, today I've already mentioned, today is Bruno Gives Back Day. It's a day specifically for giving back to the student athletes at Brown. We hope that you will take a look at the website and check that out. Upcoming event is November 16th, an all volunteer call with the Dean of the College, Rashid Zia. Please be on the lookout for an invitation to that event. During this month in October, Alumni Relations event and class partners are having class leader calls with each of the classes. In November 30th is our big giving day. Giving Tuesday is coming up, and we will be talking to our reunion classes extensively about that throughout the month of November. And we'll be providing you tools within the portal to be able to reach out to your classmates with regard to Giving Tuesday. March 10th in 2022 is our volunteer summit in New York City. April 28th is our next big giving day, Brunonians Pay It Forward Day. And May 27th and 29th, big day, big weekend, reunion celebration and commencement. And we're really looking forward to celebrating with all of you. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Christina Wilk, who will be managing the Q&A with Mary Ward and Teal Butterworth. And so if you have any questions, we hope that you've added them to the chat, and we'd be happy to answer those. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you, Holly. And congratulations, everyone, on your upcoming reunion year. This is very exciting. It really will be a very special reunion. Thank you for all the veterans on the call who have been volunteering for previous reunions, and thank you for the work this year that lies ahead. In the time remaining, I wanted to address some questions that have come in through the chat. Again, if you have a question, you're going to go to the chat drop down and choose the participant titled A-Q&A and go ahead and type your question in. There were also a few that came in previously. And I think what we'll do is go ahead and start with Mary, but I will note that if we run out of time, we will be sure to email any responses accordingly. So starting with Mary, one question, Mary, that we have here is, that came in today is, will the special event, the special programming for the class of 2020 for their commencement celebration, will that include the medical school as well?
Can you hear me? I just want to make sure I know.
Yes.
Yes, great. As far as I know, yes. So I was able to do, all the materials I've read have indicated it's both undergrad and graduate school level. 2020 graduates who are going to be invited back, but I would have to confirm that 100%, but I have not seen anything that indicates it's only undergrads.
Okay, thank you. While you're here, Mary, we have a question. Someone is curious to know if alumni interviewing is going to come back, what the status is on that front.
In terms of that program, we do not have any updates beyond what had been communicated to our alumni interview program volunteers at this point. And so that is really a decision that the admissions office leadership makes about the interview program. So I'm sorry that I'm not able to share anything more. I know what you all know in terms of the status of that program at this point.
We have another reunion question, and the question is, what plans do we have to accommodate senior alumni on campus over reunion weekend?
So, you know, as some of you may be aware, maybe not everyone, accommodation situations on campus this year are a little bit complicated with the invitation of the class of 2020 to come back and be a part of the commencement, hosting their commencement during this year's reunion session. And so we are not anticipating getting a sense of the situation with our campus housing until the late winter period of time. We do anticipate that there will be campus housing potentially available, but it is definitely going to be a little bit different in terms of availability with the class of 2020. And so please do stay tuned. As soon as we have information from the residential life, the housing office, we will share that information. And just as a reminder for everybody, we are housing, the campus housing and being able to reserve campus housing, that always happens with the reunion registration process. And so reunion registration will open in the late March, early April timeframe. And so you will definitely have information then. But if you know, people are looking and thinking about decisions around accommodations right now, that process of campus housing is not changing this year. But there is, because of the complexity with accommodating the 2020 commencement, I can't tell you 100% what that landscape is going to look exactly like it has done in previous reunion cycles.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And I think one last question, and then I'll switch tune. The question is, will there be provisions for remote participation in our reunion activities? And I think that's been answered a bit in this presentation leading up to the reunion, but will there be, I guess this is probably getting to actually during reunion weekend, will we be making remote opportunities for people to participate actually in looking at that? Is that something we're thinking of doing or have the ability to do?
Yes, we certainly are thinking about that. There will be a virtual engagement options for folks who are not able to return to campus for the reunion cycle, and there'll be more information to come on that, on the actual events that will be made available.
Excellent, terrific. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to switch gears and introduce the co-executive director of the Brown Annual Fund, Teal Butterworth. And Teal, we have two questions that have come in that are more on the reunion fundraising side of the house. And the first one is if class dues can count towards a person's donations to Brown.
So that's a great question. I will say that they're really independent, and that's really about function, right? Class dues are really critical to your class's ability to be able to plan things, you know, have successful reunions. It's really, I would say, think about it as an additive to the experience that you're going to have and for future opportunities for your class. Really for the class gift, it's really areas that you care about. So Holly went over all of the areas within the Brown Annual Fund. We obviously have the Brown Fund, which is our marquee fund, which gives the university flexible support and really supports financial aid. But there are several more targeted areas of support. And so we really hope that you'll do both. I understand that, you know, resources vary, your ability to give, you know, you might have to make a choice, but really gifts of all levels matter. And what Holly touched upon was the collective impact of gifts, you know, below $1,500. And so I would encourage you to consider, you know, making a gift that's individually meaningful. But at this point, you know, they are separate entities. They are separate entities.
Okay, thank you. I know that comes up a lot. Appreciate that. And the next question is actually related in that the question is whether or not giving to the Pembroke Center could be integrated into a class's giving. And this does come up periodically as well. And I totally get this, but what are your...
Well, here's the thing. Something I really love about Brown is the passion that Brown alumni have to give to areas that really matter to them. And I actually had a call with a member of the, or actually several members of the class of 1968. I'm chuckling a little bit because it was actually Pembroke grads. And so it was about the Pembroke Center and areas that they could support honoring undergraduate female students. And so I would say that there are always going to be, you know, areas that people support outside of the annual fund, and we recognize that. However, we really hope that there is room within the annual fund Again, they're broader, there's a broader need for more flexibility versus very targeted areas like the Pembroke Center. But I would, for the individual that asked that question, I would actually encourage them to explore the Pathways to Diversity and Inclusion Impact Fund, because it really touches upon program-based housing, academic programming, and centers that support, that align, I think, with the mission of the Pembroke Center. So again, I would encourage that individual or individuals that are interested to look at that specific fund, and we'd be happy to follow up with more information.
Great suggestion. Thank you. And the last one here, I think, applies to possibly a lot of folks on the call. The question is whether or not the participants can get copies of 95 slides in particular, but perhaps the whole slide deck. That's something you can share. Hi, Ruth. I know Ruth has offered very graciously to share one-on-one conversations and probably some slides herself. And we can do that offline if you'd like to, let us know, I guess, on the chat, and we will get your email and send them to you.
Yeah, and my slides have embedded links to things, so you can totally check out our Instagram, Facebook group, I think is public, website's public, so you can browse through what we have there.
I think we could probably send them to the whole group if they're interested, but we'll figure that out. Certainly let us know, whoever asked that question. We'll make sure that you get a copy of the slides. That is all we have for questions, and it is 3:58. So at this time, I'm going to turn things back to Mary for the closing of our session. Thank you again for attending.
Well, I just want to thank you all again for joining us and for the work that you are doing and will be doing this upcoming year to really make the 2022 reunion experience a special one for your classmates. This will definitely be a unique reunion experience. So many alumni just love being able to come back to campus, and it's been challenging to not be able to welcome the community back to campus these last 2 years. And I think that this reunion experience next May will just be a very special one. And so the work that you are all putting in this year to make sure that that you are really energizing and really tapping in and strengthening that class spirit and getting people to support the university and through the fundraising mechanism to support each other through engagement. I think that that's going to be, feels really unique next year. So thank you for joining us and have a great day.